Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Kieran, and today we'll be looking at some basic information and moveset for the Rakna Kidaki. Are you ready? Let's get to it. The web-slinging, fire-breathing monster Rakna Kidaki is classified as and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this word, a Temnoceran, and it is making its debut in Monster Hunter Rise. The first thing you'll immediately notice is the big glowing abdomen with the baby spiderlings crawling all over it. Kinda creepy. The Rakna is rated a 7-star threat, which I feel is a bit exaggerated, as even though facing the Rakna wasn't a walk in the park, it wasn't as threatening as a monster like the Magnamalo. It has a few strong attacks, but I didn't feel there was anything too devastating, but who knows, maybe I've been lucky. Anyway, the Rakna has 5 parts that you can attack. These are the head, chest, claw, abdomen, and leg. Pretty much everything is breakable except its chest, so keep swinging that weapon because something's gonna break if you keep it up. Focus your attacks on its head and to a lesser degree its legs across all weapon types to maximize damage against the Rakna. I'm assuming that you may have guessed that the Rakna Kidaki deals fire damage with all those flamethrower attacks. It makes sense then that ice and water elemental weapons are most effective against it. Finally, if you're looking to inflict some ailments on the Rakna, don't bother with poison and blast as they are completely ineffective, with Ice Blight as the most effective at 2 stars. Moving on to the moveset, the Rakna Kidaki doesn't have an overly extensive set of moves and relies heavily on its fire-based attacks as well as on its spiderlings to do most of the damage. Also note that the webbing around its legs can be broken off, so the Rakna will occasionally spin web to replenish it, and if you are in the vicinity, you may get webbed yourself. Number 1 on the list, we have its double talon attack. The Rakna will stand with its 2 front talons wide open in the air before swiping at the hunter with one, then the other talon in succession. The setup is fairly quick, but the move doesn't do an incredible amount of damage, so it's not the end of the world if you get hit. I wanted to quickly mention another move where the Rakna uses one of its front legs to rake along the ground ahead of it. The Rakna will raise one of its front legs and stab it into the ground in front of it before dragging it along the ground back out. To be honest, I haven't seen the Rakna use this move too often, and I've only been hit by it a couple of times and they were not too devastating each time, so I'm assuming it's a pretty weak move overall. Next on the list, we have a Pounce attack from the Rakna. The attack is, as the name states, where the Rakna will pounce on the hunter with its front talons and legs. The setup for this move is that the Rakna will stand on its 2 back legs while reaching out with its front legs over its head before pouncing forward onto the hunter. The Rakna Kidaki hangs up there for a while during its setup, which gives you a bit of time to maneuver away, but it has a surprising amount of reach, so move quickly to avoid this. The Rakna also has a variation of this move where it sends out a spiderling attached to a line of web before dragging itself across the field and pouncing on the hunter. Just keep an eye out for a spiderling attached by a line to the Rakna when it sends them out. While we're on the topic of spiderlings, the Rakna Kidaki not only uses the spiderlings to perform a pounce attack on the hunter, but it also uses them to move around the field. In addition to that, the Rakna occasionally sends out the spiderlings to attack. The spiderlings usually perform one of 2 moves. They either shoot out a mound of webbing, which the hunter can get caught in and be immobilized, or the Spiderlings can fire a stream of fire. The Rakna will fire the Spiderlings out extremely quickly, so there isn't much of a setup to look out for, as the Spiderlings are already being shot out when there are any signs. Note that you can kill the Spiderling, and if you do so, the Rakna will not be able to use any Spiderling related moves until they regenerate. Of course, it wouldn't be a spider monster if the Rakna do not have some sort of web attack. The Rakna will actually fire off several streams of webbing, which reaches quite a long distance in multiple directions. If you get hit by this, you will be wrapped in a cocoon and become immobilized for a short while. I almost forgot to include this next move, as it's pretty forgettable. I'm talking about the head thrust attack. The Rakna will move its head back with webbing around its mouth before thrusting its head forward at the hunter. Note that if you get hit by this, a cocoon will form around you, rendering you immobilized for a short period. Before we get to the plethora of fire attack variations, we have to mention the glow gut slam that the Rakna Kidaki literally drops on you from time to time. The setup to watch out for is that the Rakna will take a step back, then raise its abdomen up before slamming it down onto the hunter. The Rakna will also occasionally swing its abdomen from one side to another and fire off a mound of webbing on the floor. The abdomen can hit you if you're standing too close, and as always, the mound of web will cover the hunter in webbing if you run through it. Finally, let's get into the heart of the Rakna Kidaki's moveset, which are its fire attacks. The Rakna Kidaki does a ton of damage with its fire-breathing attacks, and there are a ton of ways it can use them, so you need to pay attention to these moves. First is a straight fire stream, where the Rakna Kidaki blasts a stream of fire straight ahead of it. Watch out for the Rakna lifting its head up and back a bit with fire around its mouth. The Rakna may also fire a second stream, so do pay attention to that as well. Next in the stream, we have Rakna sending a fire stream downwards and moving out to one side before moving the fire stream from one side of the field to the other. It does this all the while walking forward. The signal that it's about to unleash this is that it will move its head back and look side to side, kind of like a pigeon, again with fire around its mouth, before looking down to one side and starting to breathe fire. One of Rakna's fire streams is kind of weird in that it fires it from the side of its body. It looks like it's not firing from its mouth, but from some opening on the side of its body. There is plenty of indication that the Rakna will be unleashing this move, as it will unleash some orange gas before the fire stream is unleashed. Speaking of gas, the Rakna may also send some of that flammable orange gas around itself, which it will then ignite to do damage to the hunter. Sometimes it stays stationary when doing this, but I've also seen it move around. The Rakna Kidaki may also follow up the gas attack by sticking its head up over its body and firing a stream of fire around its body. Again, I've only ever seen it do this move after the gas attack, so you can kind of anticipate it, but note that it does come out and covers the area around it fairly quickly. Finally, the final move in the Rakna Kidaki's arsenal, and the one that I've seen hunters getting carded the most from, is the Flame Dash. The Rakna will combine dashing with one of its Spiderling webs with a semi-L-shaped stream of fire to unleash a devastating attack that covers quite a bit of distance. The setup is very obvious, as the Rakna will fire the L-shaped blast to its side while shooting out a Spiderling simultaneously. The shape of the fire blast really gives this away, but the move comes at the hunter very quickly. Just remember though, that the fire blast is to one side of its body and remains there. Oh, and that's a wrap on the hunter's notes for the Rakna Kidaki. I'm not the biggest fan of this monster, but I'm still glad that they added the Rakna to the Monster Hunter roster. If nothing else, get a set of the Master Rank armor. It's pretty sweet looking. And for the usual drill, leave a like and or subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Otherwise, don't forget to enter the maelstrom. This is Kieran, signing out.
Osha! 次の次!